Lieutenant Colonel, former Green Beret Commander Michael Waltz, on the president defending this intel sharing, whatever you want to call it. You know, Colonel, I never know who to believe with these stories and all, but even some conservative pundits are out on the wires right now saying among the sources the Washington Post was using was a fairly reliable Trump friend, a friend of the president who normally supports him but was concerned about what was leaked in that room. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I just pass it along to say that this might be more involved and potentially more damaging to the president than he or his people are saying. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you, Neil, who I believe, and I believe General H.R. McMaster, who served this country with distinction for decades now, who wrote the book on speaking truth to power called Dereliction of Duty, about generals standing up to LBJ during Vietnam, and who is someone I think we have no reason to believe would spin this thing on multiple occasions for the president. I think this was a case where President Trump shared some threat reporting that has been out there in terms of borrowing laptops from airliners. It's worth remembering that the Russians lost an entire airliner to ISIS flying out of Egypt. And, then you have some follow-up from staff. What has me really worried is not so much what President Trump said, it's the leaks that are going on. Here you had someone in the intelligence community that was so concerned about what President Trump may or may not have shared that, how does it fix things by then going to the Washington Post and sharing additional details about it?
You know what I worried about with that, though, Colonel, and I'll defer to you. Believe me, you know far more about this than I'll learn in a lifetime. But that maybe some of the leakers were concerned and they can't tell the president his fate because he doesn't listen to them. And that if that is the case,
well, Neil,
that would be a worry, wouldn't it?
But, Neil, that's the same, that's along the same lines of logic and justification that Edward Snowden used. There are channels, having worked inside our intelligence community and in the White House.
There's a big difference there, right?
There is congressional oversight, there's IG. Sure it is, but, I don't think, at the end of the day, we sign up for an oath to the Constitution and to defend that oath, and you sign up for a security clearance, and if you disagree with some things the president may have disclosed or may not have, you don't know necessarily for sure. You don't just get to run to the press and then disclose even more. And hats off to the Washington Post.
Though, Jen, that's what I wonder. Like, say you constantly try to say, Mr. President, just a little concerned about this, not listening, not listening, not listening. You've heard this from other people. Now, again, to your point, we don't know what's real or not. But then he's still not listening, and it may be owing to the fact he was a novel candidate, different candidate, not your conventional candidate. And he's in there now that this behavior endeared him to people who thought he'd be a good president, and will still maybe be a good president.
Right.
But this is very tricky stuff here, and you can't do it.
Sure it is, but Neil, I mean, look at who is sitting around in the room. You've got Rex Tillerson, you have H.R. McMaster, you have Mattis, you have Pompeo. These are serious men. These are serious individuals who understand our national security priorities and how information
got in
comes
touch
to them.
with the intelligence agencies, Colonel, to say, here's what the president said or meant to say. So a couple of them might have been concerned, right?
No, but Neil, that's a normal part of the process. You want that kind of feedback loop back to your national security establishment to say, hey, look, this is what was discussed. This is how the Russians responded, and these are some things the president broached. That's a normal part of the process. I believe it was Tom Bossert, his Homeland Security advisor, who reached out and said, this is what went on. You need that feedback loop so that the next meeting we can move forward with the agenda. I don't buy that this was a 911 call on behalf of his staff, and I certainly don't buy that the people around him, either misinformed him or are lying about what was said.